Hello, my sweeties. It's been a bit a while since I have posted anything. That's just more combination of the fact that one, I am diving very deeply into a topic that is very important, but also hits extremely close to home for me personally and for my family. Um, and it's, I don't know how to describe it, like the feeling. It's when you have a family member that has survived something extremely horrible, and then, they pass that story on to other generations, and then those future generations do the research and look back into it. It can be extremely emotional, but you also can realize that there were parts that they might have, one, not talked about, or two, made it a little bit more harder, more lighthearted than the actual story was. And that's kind of something I've been having to deal with these last few months as I've been doing this research. Originally, this topic, I was going to do it in more like a summary video, and go over the different layers and just summarize everything. But as I started researching, as I started diving deeper into this topic, I started realizing that I cannot just summarize everything. And each section needs to be told. Have it not only its own video, but maybe videos if the case may pertain to it. So that is what I'm doing. And that's kind of the topic about today, actually. Recently, I had two people that I know, both personally and professionally, who, in support of me, have checked out this channel, Coffee with YY, and given me feedback. And I would like to start off by apologizing to one of them specifically. I want to say sorry if I came off harshly in my reply email to your feedback. I understand that you simply just, didn't mean harm or anything. You were just trying to give me feedback, trying to be supportive. And I thank you for that. I thank you for any criticism. And I apologize for how harshly I may have come back out from that email. One, mentally, I was not in a very good place at that time. And two, I want to address this not only to you guys, but to any future viewers of this channel. If you have not already guessed it from the title of this video, this is not a channel that if you want a 5 or 10 minute video on a topic that just summarizes what the topic is, this is not the channel for you. And I'm going to explain the reason why. So I want to start off by kind of giving you guys a story. This is actually something that happened to me when I was younger. I was in elementary school, middle school age, somewhere in there. I cannot say specifically. It's been quite some time. But this was with one of my first therapists I ever worked with. I remember I was trying to look something up because I wanted to show her something. And she made a comment because I took the time to go through every single little page. So, like when you Google something, you have all those pages at the bottom that you go through. And I'm one of those people. I will go through every single one of those little pages if I'm looking for something specifically. I will do multiple different search engines to find what I'm looking for. And she had made the comment of, if I don't find something within the first page or two, then I just stop looking, right? And it was a very strange narrative for me. My mother, for those of you who don't know, is a researcher. She is a retired researcher, and she actually used to be self-employed, and would do research for people, which when you research something, you spend months and months and dive deep and make sure you get all of it before you go, okay, here's your research to someone. And so that's how she trained me, that when you look up something, don't just go off of the first, article that you come across or the first video or whatever. But ironically, this kind of pertains to how Coffee with YY has come about and even got started. Something I have noticed, and something I personally have issues with, when it comes to our society, especially over here in the continent of America, Canada, Mexico, Central and South America, just this whole continent. I don't know about other countries and continents. I'm not going to speak on them. But something I have noticed, especially over these last few years, is people will make a 5-minute video, make a 6-second video if you talk about TikTok, or a very short, brief article or post about a topic. And what I've noticed this tends to lead to is when it leaves out a lot of information that could be needed, or it can lead to a very biased opinion. And for me, my channel, I want to take a topic and I want to look at all sides. I've always been raised to not believe, but to know that every story has more than one side. There's, the first narrator, there's the second narrator, and then there's all of the witnesses. And you have to interview everyone to get a full picture of an event that happened. You may or may not ask, then why have I chosen to do this? Why have I chosen to dive so deeply into research? And I want to answer that question. And this example that hits extremely close to home for not only myself, but a lot of my fellow Indigenous. I have decided to give a voice to such stories. 2,996. That is the number of people who passed away when the two towers fell during 9/11. 2,996 is how many we mourn ever since. We do documentaries on them. We put our flags at half-mast. We do a day of mourning, even, to the point it's basically a national holiday. And yet, at the same time that we are doing this, right now as we speak, there are thousands of American citizens, Mexican citizens, Canadian citizens, etc., who are in mourning for over 6,000 and still counting children who were taken from their homes, forced into boarding and residential schools, raped, killed, among other things. There are still survivors to this day who still deal with PTSD from those memories. But instead of telling the indigenous of this country that they are allowed to mourn these over 6,000 and still counting children, we tell them to tough it up and get over it, because we would rather sweep it under the rug than admit our own history. We like, as Americans, to pretend that the things like the Trail of Tears and slavery happened thousands of years ago. They just happened yesterday. Just as a perspective of time frame, my great-grandmother was 9 years old when her and her people were ripped from their land, forced to walk, while their people died of starvation, while their women were raped, only to end up in Oklahoma and be forced to go to war with those tribes there over land. That was my great-grandmother. The people who currently run our government, their parents and grandparents were able to own slaves. This was not thousands of years ago. This is recent history. And what I plan on doing with this channel, no matter how much people might try to tell me just to do a 5 or 10 minute video, do a summary on such topics, or to help in sweeping it under the rug, I am here to give a voice to these stories. I'm not going to sweep it under the rug. I know it will be difficult to gain my channel up. It will be difficult to find anyone that wants to basically let me get paid. I don't even know if I'll ever make money from this channel, but that is not why I'm doing it. I am doing it because we need to dive down into the rabbit hole and stop scratching the surface where it is comfortable. And if you are not able to bring yourself into doing more than just scratching the surface, this is not the channel for you. But if you want to dive down into the rabbit hole with me, no matter how uncomfortable it gets, I am extending my hand out to you. Let's go into it together.